Okay then, for this video I am going to be talking about what I will collectively refer to as the impulses. Now, I will say up front, there are no super duper tricks or methods or old-fashioned shenanigans going to be on display here, because all I'm going to do is straight force both of these machines here, because that is all I used to do with impulses out in the wild. I am aware that there were a couple of earlier impulses that had methods on them, like Flashback, which I believe was chipped out. I never saw a real one over here, never did it, so I can't really comment on that. And not all impulses had the same profile. They did. There was certainly a machine called, I believe, Spartacash, which there's that Meigay Simpsons machine is a code clone of, which is far more a skill-based machine. But there was a family of these impulse machines which you could pretty much just straight force, and that was all you did with them. And at the time that these machines appeared, that was pretty much the extent of my knowledge. It was mid to the back end of the £15 era, something like that. And I had at least learned about the force. And having had reasonable success with forcing bar crests at the time and stuff like that, anything that I came across, I would force. It didn't matter what it was, I would just force it. And when jackpots were 15 quid, even if it was the wrong way to play a machine, you tended to not come too far unstuck. And I liked these, and I can remember there being a few of these. I've picked two here. We've got two really good DX layouts here by Tommy C on the left with this Wipeout DX, and Bruce George on the right with this Grid Runner DX. Very, very clear memories of these being in the pubs around here on their original £15 jackpot. Now, the £25 jackpot upgrades are a different matter. I will get onto those separately. So, since you don't need much in the way of, intellectual skill to play these things, I'm sure you could probably train a monkey to force these. And that was a good thing. I didn't mind that. I liked these machines in that, to someone who didn't know much more other than forcing, to have machines that forced, that responded well to a force was good for me, because it was at a point in time when I had been getting my ass kicked. Oh, hang on. Oh, shit, I should have wedged that then, shouldn't I? Okay, that's going to time out. I could have had, bollocks. I could have probably have red lines there, I think. But I don't want that, because I'm just forcing it. I could have red lines there, I think. So what I'm going to do is just hold them. You're supposed to have the red lines there. So anyway, not to worry. Well, I'm going to keep losing my train of thought there. So yeah, I think where I was up to, I think if you've been having your ass kicked for 8 or 9 years by fruit machines, as I had when I at least knew about forcing machines, I've got a little bit of soft spot for these, because these impulses turned up at a time when I was happy to go around forcing fruit machines. I'd take enough money out with me to make sure that I could force them, and generally speaking that went okay. I think I've mentioned in a previous video where there were loads of bar crests around the place, and with most of them all you did was force them. Impulses were very much the same, and there were empires as well. I mean, empires like, oh god, what's it called, Money Monster on a £15 jackpot. I know players didn't like empires, but they could have a big streak in them as well. So it was the era. Oh shit, I had skill bonus then, didn't I? Sorry, that was really bad. It was the era of the force, and that's not to say that there weren't far better ways to play machines, because I know very well that there were, but it was the first time for me that I had gone from losing far more than I won to winning more than I lost. So even though I was a bit of an amateur hacker, these machines appeared at a nice time. And the thing is with these machines, they were good looking. These machines are good looking bastards. If you look at this one on the left here, Wipeout, which is in attract mode, Impulse had a very good eye. Whoever they had designing these machines for them, they had a very good eye for a machine that looked nice, a machine that you would want to play it. They looked the part. really good use of multicolored lamps, and their sound designers were really good as well. I mean, their machines had great music and sound effects. They had superb jackpot sequences. They were just, you know, they were good fun to play, particularly if you were fairly happy that you were going to come out on top, or not get too badly bruised at the end of it, because all I did with these was force them. And on a £15 jackpot, even if the force cost you 30 quid, 25 quid, 30 quid, and you got a £15 jackpot and the machine went dead and the next board was 3 quid, you haven't lost much. It didn't really matter. You know, you weren't losing your shirt on them, even if you just forced it and it didn't streak. And of course, the flip side of that was these things like to streak off a force. You just force out the super jackpot. Well, all I ever did was force out the super jackpot here at the top. I ignored red lines. I know you're supposed to be able to get clever with red lines. I know there's a couple of features here, you know, like 11th Heaven is a jackpot, but all I ever did was just do a straight force for super jackpot at the top, and you hoped that it would streak. You hoped that it would repeat the jackpot, or that the next board entry would be an invincible board, and they would generally streak on a £15 jackpot to, from recollection, from my memory, they would be 45 or 60 quid. And that was a reasonable streak amount. If you were 20, 25 quid, 30 quid in, something like that, and you got a 45 or 60 pound streak, that was a decent result. And because the jackpots were smaller then, because there were far more fruit machines around and they got far more casual play, you know, you could return to these machines, you know, a couple of times a week, something like that. Even if they'd already streaked once that week, just give them a few days and you could go back and have a crack at forcing them out again. And that went, in the main, fairly well. I'm not saying that I won on them all the time, and I'm not saying that I played them the best way I could possibly play them. But, like I said, I do have a soft spot for these, because they represented that period of time when I was able to see the tides turning a little bit, and rather than coming home with no money, or substantially less money than I'd gone out with, it was like, oh right, okay, I've got more cash than I went out with. And I remember for a period of time we just had, you know, bags of pound coins all over the place, because I would just go around and force the shit out of everything, and it kind of worked okay. So I think we've got to win one more gamble here, haven't we? So change numbers. It could sometimes fuck you on this and you'd be slightly cross about it, but let's have a go. Just like that. You know, not to worry. I'm sure it'll all come back out of the street pot. Let's have a go. We'll have another crack at this. The music on this machine, by the way, in particular, is one of my favourite fruit machine tunes. The feature board music on this is great. It was one of them that I would sometimes just let cycle around a few times and just listen to the music, because it was such a nice little jingle. Unfortunately, these cabs had, in fact, you can see, I think this one is in a rebuild cab here. This one on the left is the original impulse cab. Can you see here? That was where the speaker was. It was the cheapest, nastiest speaker you've ever heard. I mean, I think Epoch Tech was a bit cheap in and of itself, and I think somebody has posted over on oh, why is that not taking money? I think somebody has posted over on Fruit Emu to that in that vein, that this was a cheap tech, that the guy who designed it came up with something that was far better and far more advanced, and then he got cut back on cost, and Epoch was the result, and it wasn't the grandest tech in the world, shall we say. And Epoch itself was a bit of a flaky tech. I mean, it was quite common to walk up to an Epoch machine and it would be well, I'm going to lose streak there. It would be quite common to hear them buzzing terribly from somewhere inside, and some of the lamp matrix would go weird and all sorts of stuff. So I don't think it was the best tech in the world, shall we say. So let's go with that. Give it a bit of, not sure, catch up. And go to the Oh shit, now I've got the no loose streak. That was very wrong. Do apologise. See if we can get out here. No, we've lost. Okay. Probably not doing this quite right. So yeah, where was I? The music and sound on these was awesome, and it was not done justice by the horrible speaker that the original cabs had in them. But even then, I would still just listen to the music cycle round a couple of times. It's one of those things that's far better in the emulator because the quality of the samples is actually not that bad. Oh shit, no, I didn't run. The quality of the samples is actually not that bad. It was just the awful speaker or sound hardware or whatever that the machines had themselves that did them a disservice. So I would very much recommend turning the volume up on these games when you're playing them in the emulator and enjoying the sound and music package that Impulse used to put on their machines. So where am I up to here? I put 13 quid in. I mean, this is running a bit behind. I think we saw that at the long-term stats there. I mean, it's not a million miles, and Wipeout isn't a million miles off a factory reset either. That's part of the thing here. So they play very, very kind of lumpy from a factory reset, and they've only had a few hundred quid through them. I should probably get them. And it doesn't help, of course, that I've just been forcing them around all the time. So it'll probably take a little while for these to settle down. I could do with putting a decent amount of time through them in autoplay, I think. But I've not been paying, by the way, I've not been paying any particular attention here to what I've been pressing. So I've been doing it all kinds of wrong, even by my own standards. Right, that should now go to the top. Once you've got a £15 win, it should then gamble to the top. And you know what? Maybe you were supposed to collect this. I don't know. Maybe that could start the streak just the same and you can still lose. But I always personally went for the jackpot repeater at the top because you get to the point where it's just boarding all the time anyway. So I didn't particularly mind. And I was quite happy with these. I was quite happy to just get my pint and play. Fuck, why did they do that? Get my pint and just play the machine. Kind of take my time a bit in a way as well, and get a second pint or a third pint, and just enjoy playing the machine because you knew that you were never going to be that far behind. It was never going to cost you an absolute fortune to force it out. So even if the machine was in a bad mood when you started, you kind of knew it hadn't streaked for more than 60 quid, and they would generally drop a jackpot for 20, 25, 30 quid, something like that. So it was one of them where you could just enjoy your drink and play the machine, listen to the sounds of music, and know that this wasn't something that was capable of absolutely destroying you. It was also quite good if you were wanting a low-stress gaming experience. I mean, I do recall from back in the day, if you'd maybe spent the weekend in the company of Mr. Ebeneezer Goode or something like that, and you had a little bit of a brain mong going on, and you're off and you went to the pub on a Monday, quiet Monday afternoon, and you just wanted a little bit of alcohol to kind of settle things down a bit. These were good machines to play because you didn't have to think too much about what you were doing, and you could just kind of get on with your beer, mind your business, and kind of zone out a little bit. So they were quite nice in that regard. All in view. This is, having said all that, oh shit, I held the wrong thing there. So where are we up to now? So we've put 15 quid in, and according to the stats, it is well behind percentage. I would be wanting this to climb out fairly shortly. Let's see. What I will actually do now is pay attention to what I'm doing, because I haven't been doing that thus far. So let's see. I mean, it does have, in my experience, all kinds of ways to sort of dick you around. If there was clever stuff that you could do on these to try and get it set up or trap it or anything like that, I genuinely didn't know about it. Because I just did a dumb straight, oh for fuck's sake, I just did a dumb straight force on them, and that's all I've ever done in the emulator. We get 3 holes there. I never used to go for 3 holes, but I thought I'd mix it up with it. this is playing fairly. Oh, there we are. Right, okay. Super duper mega start. I don't know if those long-term stats are right, but by all accounts, this thing owes me a large amount of money. I don't think there's been any RAM file failures with this either, so this should be right in terms of its stats. Let's see where we get to. It does like to give you change number, and it will kill you after a change number as well, which is one of those slightly annoying things. Let's risk a... There we are. I would really be expecting this to climb out sooner rather than later. Oh. Come on. Bearing in mind that I've already had £15 offered on a cash shot, so... Which, yes, I should have probably taken. We'll go that way. Does it? Come on, let's have the jackpot repeater. This. Oh, for God Almighty! What's the matter with you, man? But it doesn't matter. You know, this to me was okay. I didn't even mind if it was not entirely the perfect way to play it, because at that point I would have another long sup of my beer, knowing it would board again in, you know, less than £1. So it was low stress. I think I did, from memory, if they were absolutely on their arse when I got to them, you know, if like they would not put you into the feature, because what they could do, I think you got two different sorts of bonuses, a pause bonus and a no pause bonus, and if it was really, really reluctant to put you on the board and was just killing you at, shit, that was wrong again, and it was just killing you at like £2, and it was... I don't know whose streak went. Then at that point, I think that was when I would actually walk away from it and not playing it. But if it was showing any signs of life on the board at all, I would then just set about forcing it, and was usually reasonably content with the results. Because going back to when these machines were around, there were far more fruit machines around, and they were getting played a lot more. And in the main, from my experience, people just didn't force them. And I do have very clear memories of people saying, oh, you should collect that, you should collect that, that's a tenner, or that feature's really good, or whatever, and don't just go for the jackpot, you're stupid, and all that kind of thing. But as it was at the time, just forcing was not a bad tactic for quite a few machines. And these were one of them, although the way it's going here, you'd be starting to wonder, wouldn't you? Come on, it's got to go out now, surely. Okay. Change numbers. Come on. Right, okay, this one. Still got the life. That was a silly time to say I've still got the life, wasn't it? I'm not even being smart here with trying to get the. I've got no bonus there. That's the problem. There we are. Really good jackpot sequence as well. Nice little tune as well. It's like an impulse signature jackpot tune. That. Now, what I'd want to, well, if not repeat, what it'd like to do. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. Wow. And then you'd have a big celebratory swig of your beer. Because you go, yay, streak. Could do another one. Oh, we want now, we do want an invincible board. We'd be hoping now for an invincible board. £30, I think, would be a bit mean. I used to try and... You know, I would hope for 45 or 60. I'd be slightly displeased. Come on, it's not a super board. Okay. Well, that's a bit disappointing, isn't it? Okay, well, we'll gamble it up a bit and see what happens. Yeah. It's just going to kill me for fun here, I suspect. Yeah, there we go. We'll give it one more board, just in case that super board comes round. That's one of the short bonuses that I was talking about. You get a slight delay. When you hit the bonus on 4, You either get a very, very slight delay or you don't, and it's the no slight delay one that is generally, it's not going to put you on the board. Okay, 5, that's got to be on, surely. Is it well on or just slightly on?
Oh.
And no invincible board. Well, this is where I would then consider taking anything that was decent, but I'm only stymied slightly there by the fact that apart from like 11th Heaven, which I know is a jackpot feature, I don't really know. And red lines obviously are always good. I'm not sure if Cash Attack is a good one, but it'll probably just have me long before then anyway. Okay, well, that'll be changed numbers, I suspect. Yeah, there we go. Double whammy. Let's see. I'm not going to go for the white there because I actually want the problem with the white segments, the white hexagons, is they don't give you a coloured bonus. They just boost all the pots. Well, that's going to be the life gone in it. Yeah. Well, that's remarkable. We might have to settle. See, if I could get to blue 11th Heaven. Oh, God, yeah. I don't fancy my chances here. If I can win this gamble, I will collect 11th Heaven, but I can't see it because that is a jackpot. Oh! Ah! I should collect 11th Heaven now because it will fucking have you. That's the problem. Okay, we'll have that. I'm sure this is a jackpot feature if I can hit it. Oh dear. What are my chances here? So 9, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there we go. That'll do. I would have preferred it to do an invincible board there, but it's another jackpot. Not to worry. It's another jackpot in the bag. So we're happy about that. No repeat chance, so that's the issue. Oh, look at that. Hey, it's Christmas, fellas. Look at that. Everything's coming up Degsy. Right, okay. Let's, where do we want to go here? Will it lose on the, it won't lose on the first gamble. Oh. That should be a bonus if it wins, and then, yeah, it's going to be another 11th Heaven at least, surely. Super Series. Come on. There we are. That's fine. Lucky 7. So I could... There's no reason to... well, maybe it would just gamble out to the jackpot repeater there. But so that's going to be the 60 quid, because that's always going to go up to your 50 quid. 15 quid, and that'll put the... That'll be the £60 streak. Which is fine. I would have been quite delighted by that on a cold Monday afternoon in the pubs of Ramsey with a head that felt like it was ready to fall off as I drank another calming pint. As was the fashion at the time, because we all know what was going on, 99, 2000 millennium, don't we? It was very much the style at the time to not be in the best of shape sometimes after the weekend. There we are. Let's have a look at that. So that's 60 quid. Which, frankly, I was expecting, given I hadn't realised how far it was behind on the long-term stats. So that's good. We are pleased with that. What I'll do now, then, is go over to Wipeout. I always just treated them as the same machine. I think you should put £1 in, shouldn't you? Just see if you get repeat chance. No. Maybe just give it another board. And then when I go over to Wipeout, what I'll do is just talk about the £25 upgrades on these, because I was not a big... Let's see if we get delay. Yeah, no delay. So that's going to be like boost or something. Yeah, there we go. I was not a big fan of the £25 versions of these machines. I really wasn't. Let's see what that does. So we have got no lose, so we can go up to a 12 there. but I can't see having another. That's handy when you've got 12, gives you a change number. And it will always try and make the number better if it can. So if you know what? We'll have that. We'll have 12 quid, and we'll auto nudge it in. There's no red bars up, or red lines rather. Well, that was a pleasing result, wasn't it? So there we are. So we'll collect that out, and we'll consider ourselves blessed with a decent streak there, and that would have been 40 quid up. So we'll go to Wipeout and then start chatting about the £25 upgrades for these, because my opinion is that these machines and their profile, everything about them was perfectly was perfectly suited to the £15 jackpot, in that if you were just doing a straight force, you weren't going to come too far unstuck, and the streaks in them were basically 45 or 60, so it wasn't a stupid streak that would leave the machine on its arse for a year afterwards. The problem with the £25 upgrades, as I found, was that it made the variance on them far higher. Extra life. And the thing with variance is, it's more a term that you hear with online slots, online casinos, whereby a low variance game, you won't get many big wins, but you won't tend to lose much. You won't get too many dead spins, all that kind of thing. They're fairly tame. They're fairly in the middle. Whereas a high variance slot online will be, it's kind of all or nothing, blood and guts sort of thing, and you're either going to win everything or you're going to go home with nout sort of thing. And variance still applies to fruit machines in terms of the profile that they put into the machine. Oh, there we are. That was a nice start, wasn't it? And my feeling with these was that on the £15 jackpot, well, you could just take Super Series there, but we're going to go for the jackpots here, aren't we, with an extra life, was that on the £15 jackpot, the variance was down the lower end of the scale, in that they would only streak to 45 or 60 quid, and they were never like ridiculously hammered or anything like that. Why did I just go lower? That was stupid, wasn't it? I thought I had a no lose. Sorry. Oh my god, that was so fucking hell. Right. Can you tell I cannot gab and play at the same time? So, and I didn't even help them. Right, so on the £15 jackpot, we'll gloss over that. We'll pretend it didn't happen. It doesn't matter. We'll have another go now. It's clearly at max happiness. So there we are. So on the £15 jackpot, I always felt that these games had a reasonable variance. They weren't too bad, and you would never come too far unstuck. When they went up to the £25 jackpot, they changed that, because from my experience, the streak, which is effectively your jackpot plus repeat, went from one jackpot repeat, which would be 50 quid, to 2, which was 75 quid, all the way out to 3, which was 100 quid. So at the lower end, you could be getting 50 quid, which was only a fiver more than they could do on the £15 jackpot, because the £15 jackpot would generally go to at least 45 quid. So your minimum win off the streak was 50 quid, not an improvement on the £15 jackpot ones. And of course they could hold out for a lot longer. I mean, if you want to see this for yourself, Tommy did release this with the £25 ROMs as well. It's a fucking awful machine on £25 jackpot. I really came to dislike that. And that's because they can streak to £100, and Grid Runner could streak to £100 as well. Grid Runner is one of the few £25 jackpot machines that I had a natural £100 streak on. Just forced it out as I always did. I think, from memory, it just went invincible, and it was the super jackpot at the top, and it repeated 3 times, and that was 100 quid, which is a nice win. It's a tidy win if you can get it, but it turned these machines from a fairly safe, don't worry about it too much kind of proposition into a higher variance machine where they could, if you caught them wrong, really do some damage, and they could do this kind of, I don't know where the blocks were specifically on these, but they could just dick you around with the no pause bonus, not put you in the board, and when they did, they kill you before you got past £2, because obviously it's got quite a lot of room for manoeuvre around the bottom here to let you gamble a few times without getting past £2. So on the £25 jackpot, I genuinely don't feel that the £25 jackpot was a good match for impulse machines. And I sort of fell out with them a little bit at that point. I would still go out and force them, but they went from something that I enjoyed and sort of enjoyed playing to machines that were a little bit more serious and a little bit more hardcore, because the profile of them changed, because they put in that ability for them to streak to £100, which I did have on more than one occasion, but if you're on the wrong side of that, it wasn't particularly pleasant. So let's see how we can do here. We can, if I can get a changed numbers, which is the one it usually likes to give, we can get a couple of drop downs here. So we'll get a couple of wipeouts. We got a red there. Possibility here maybe. Let's risk that. There we are, and that should do it. Oh, no lose streak. There we are. That'll do it. So that'll be the wipeout. And let's see if we can get a jackpot repeater out. Well, actually a jackpot that repeats. And it's the same. Yay! Nice little jackpot sequence again. And there's another one. It would either repeat or... Yay! Or it would do the invincible board afterwards. Personally, I quite liked it when the jackpot didn't repeat, and then you got the invincible boards, you got the super features, as it called it. Because it gave that yippee when you got on the feature, but well, we'll play it out to the next feature and see what it does. And just for completeness, the one impulse machine that I did have the method for and that I did okay out of was a machine called Mortal Wombat. Super feature? No. Which was a semi-clone of Spin on It, but it had a couple of extra things on it which did make it doable. That came out on the £25 jackpot, and I had a couple of them round here and did do very well out of them. Unfortunately, as of the time of making this video, there is no layout for Mortal Wombat, so I can't do that. But if we do ever get a layout for Mortal Wombat, I will definitely do a video on that, because that was the one impulse that I knew the method for at the time when it was a new machine, and I had a couple of them around here as well. And that was an okay machine, but it's not something I can do right now. So, as I said right at the start, all we've really got here is dumb forces, which is a pretty decent representation of what I was at the time as a player, which is pretty much just a dumb forcer. I mean, is this going to do what Gridrunner did and just give me another... Let's have a look. We'll see where this feature goes, and then we'll call it, because I'm way over the half-hour mark. So, sorry, it's been going on a bit, this one. I mean, it's just strange, really, because 30 quid, sorry, it was not a streak value I was much... It could do it. I think if they were getting pushed too often in the wild, they could just do 30 quid, but my experience with them was that they were usually 45 or 60, which we haven't seen here, so we'll take it out for the next feature. No super feature again, so we may have to leave that one here, but we've done okay, I think. If we look at our stats once I collect the bank out, it should be alright. That's a fairly good wipeout string coming down there, because if you can get the colours matched up and you can feel that you're doing something clever. I personally was never particularly convinced it made much difference, but you can feel smart at least. which that was the worst one I could have possibly given me there. And the problem with all these wipeouts is they don't necessarily advance you much up the trails here, as you can see. And it sort of jibs you out the bonuses along the way like that, so... Okay, we might just have to collect... Might just have to settle for the 30 quid on this one. We'll see what this feature does. And this is perhaps more of an indication here of why they could be so frustrating on the £25 jackpot, because you just spent far, far longer dicking around with boards that were never really going to do anything, which you didn't get so much on the £15 jackpot. Yes, they could still do it here, but multiply this by, you know, a factor of 2 at least to give you an idea of it, and then some, because it could have just done a £100 streak. So there was a whole level of sort of tedious nastiness to the £25 jackpot iterations of these that I never much cared for. I will just play this one out. That's going to be change numbers probably. So I'm going to go for the dodgy one here because it'll get me a wipeout. Probably will. Okay. And then I do have that, which will then knock out 2 greens. But I'm not really that high up on the trails. And it's probably going to have me here, is it? Ah, it doesn't really matter at that point, does it? Thank you very much. Okay, we'll collect the... in fact, I'm actually going to hold away from that there and just collect out my £30 bank, and let's see what the stats are there. So not too bad. And let's move it to the profit in out stats for the session, which were, let's have a look, there comes the banks, not too bad. Wait for that to count up. So yeah, I liked these, and I still really like them in the emulator. It's great that we've got these really good DXs for it as well. I said by Tommy C on the left, Bruce George on the right, all of course running in the fantastic emulator MFME by Wizard. So I will sometimes, I have to say, I sometimes have these machines just on attract mode on my PC when I'm over on the couch watching telly and stuff like that, and just glance over to them because they look so gorgeous. And this for me is almost fruit machine emulation in a nutshell. It's what makes it so good. It's the machines that you remember that looked good and sounded good and you enjoyed playing. And for me, of course, the era when I first actually started winning some money. So nothing too fancy there, just some dumb forces and some shit play at that as usual. But that's done. That's the impulses. If Mortal Wombat ever turns up, I'll do a proper video on that. But that's all for this one. As ever, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if possible, I would like to see you next time. Thank you. That's it for now. Goodbye.